last day, when he shall come again in his glorious majesty, judge both the quick and the dead, we may rise to the life immortal through him who liveth and reigneth with thee and the Holy Ghost, now and ever. Amen. Have hope, my son.
How's he taking it, Padre?
Any news of a reprieve?
I've an open line through to the Home Secretary, but there's not a hope.
Then, Governor, you've got to stop this execution. Arthur Donald isn't guilty.
But, Padre...
He's innocent, I tell you. I know.
What makes you so sure that Donald is not guilty?
For 15 years, this prison has been my parish. This isn't my first execution, but it's the only one where I know the man's not guilty.
But this is a matter of law, not emotion. Why make the job tougher?
I'm not a man of law, but I know when a man speaks the truth.
But I can't stop an execution for no cause. They'd crucify me, it would mean my job.
A job's much cheaper than a human life. A man doesn't lie in the face of eternity.
Johnston, make this priority. Get me the Home Secretary. It's up to him, Padre. Any news about when he'll be back? You've lost out, Padre. He's out of town.
But you aren't. And you can't run away from your conscience.
But if I give my personal stay, it'll only be for 24 hours. What then?
It would give us a fighting chance.
Very well, I'll do it. But I hope you're right.
There's a man in London who can help us. The only man I know.
But why seek unimportant self when so many excellent detectives are available at Scotland Yard?
Mr. Chan, you are the court of last resort. Unless a miracle happens, that boy will die tomorrow.
Father Dolan, you believe this boy innocent. Why?
Intuition, faith. How can you measure human belief?
True, neither can be measured by logic of law. I am unfamiliar with case, Father. Where did crime occur?
Here, in London. A man of God is rarely a man of means, but perhaps this check for £200 would help. Mr. Chan, would it convince you if you met the boy?
Not necessary now. Smoke of sincerity in your belief indicates fire of truth. However, time is most important.
They're executing him tomorrow.
Shall do all in my power. Airline reservations, please. Mr. Chan speaking. Please cancel my reservations on plane for America tomorrow morning. More urgent business keeps me here. Sincere apologies. Trying to save human life is ample pay for humble services.
Anybody but you, Charlie, and I'd have him locked up as a public nuisance. Do you realize the implications involved?
Only with friends, Inspector, is great frankness possible. That's why I'm here.
Arthur Donald's been found guilty by the process of the law with all its protections. There's no reason to reopen his case.
Unless, of course, he is innocent.
I resent that implication.
Please believe was no implication. Sincerity of police is unquestioned, but not their infallibility.
Charlie, this stay of execution has made fools of us already. I'm sorry.
Inspector, if my number one son were falsely accused, I would not like to think loss of face was more important than integrity of justice.
What makes you so convinced that Donald's innocent?
Intuition. Of course, intuition is not admissible as evidence, but sometimes it solves many crimes.
Never use logic, Charlie, or you'll be out of a job. Now, on the night of March the 3rd, a car was reported on fire in Hampstead Heath here, just by the Spaniards Inn. In it was the body of Dr. Roy Beach, a general practitioner who lived in the area. The autopsy showed multiple head injuries, but no sign of carbon monoxide in the blood.
Conclusion, therefore, victim was dead before fire.
Correct. The police surgeon's report in the back of the file here.
Continue, please.
Early on the morning of the 4th, a squad car saw a man hanging around Chalk Farm underground station there. They pulled him in for questioning. He was Arthur Donald, the doctor's chauffeur handyman, with a lot of unexplained cash.
So?
Cash the doctor drawn from the bank that morning, the serial numbers checked out.
Very interesting, but still not evidence of suspect's guilt.
Ah, that's coming. We went through Donald's room in the doctor's house and discovered a lot of blood-stained clothing and towels.
Doctor's blood?
Group O checked with the body at the autopsy.
Inspector, this case seems to be common jigsaw puzzle, almost too perfect.
Well, it happens sometimes.
And the motive?
Robbery, of course.
Defense?
Donald split wide open. He said the doctor had given him the cash for safekeeping, but he had no witness to prove it.
Woman gives birth to child on small island. There's no birth certificate to prove same. Nevertheless, mother is convinced of child's existence.
Now, face realities, Charlie. He had motive, access, and there's the proof of the blood-stained clothing.
All circumstantial.
Well, what more do you want, an eyewitness?
Eyewitness is very important in murder case. However, they are not always correct. Tell me, how did suspect get job with late doctor?
Well, Dr. Beach was a great man for helping the underdog. He found Donald in an East End mission near Aldgate.
Most worthy, but very unusual place to secure help.
Well, Donald was clean. He had no police record. He had no family, no resources. And when he came out of the army, he allowed himself to drift. Well, it happens sometimes.
Did doctor leave any family?
He left a widow.
Would appreciate meeting lady.
I'll give you her address. And I'll give her a call to clear the way.
Oh, most grateful.
And Charlie,
Yes?
we don't often make mistakes. But when we do, we don't mind admitting it.
Admission of mistakes, most generous. But I fear very little comfort for a man in prison grave. Most grateful, Inspector.
Inspector Marlowe called me, Mr. Chan, but I rather expected you sooner.
London subway is excellent, but very complex. Have aged considerably since start of journey.
Mr. Chan, what good will all this rehashing do?
Delay in execution necessitates rehash of ancient crime, because guilt of young man is now in question.
I'm afraid there's not much doubt of Arthur's guilt. I'm not a vindictive woman, but I did lose my husband.
Most understandable. But if young man is innocent,
Mr. Chan, be realistic.
tell me, how long was young man employed before unhappy incident?
Nearly 6 months.
Conduct satisfactory?
He seemed nice enough when he came to us. Quiet, unassuming. He'd been in the Army Medical Corps and seemed glad of the job. He was settling down nicely until...
Must have been great shock.
I couldn't believe that Arthur would have done it. He must have been insane.
How did young man get on with doctor?
We were all very fond of him.
And the doctor?
Why do you ask?
Brutal clubbing of victim would indicate that hate instead of robbery was motive for killing. I presume this is your husband.
No, that's my half-brother. This is Roy.
Very handsome man. Was your marriage with late doctor happy?
Why go into that? It all came out at the trial.
Unfortunately, was not present. Please explain.
Roy and I had been married for about 12 years. He was the perfect husband. Reliable, considerate, kind.
But not very exciting.
All right. If you want the truth, he was so perfect that sometimes I could have screamed with boredom and frustration.
And the young man?
Mr. Chan, I'm a woman, not a saint. Arthur brought youth, excitement, vitality into this house. He was everything that Roy was not.
I gather a relationship between you and young man was mutual.
I told you, I'm a woman.
Please continue.
It was bound to happen. Roy caught us. It was horrible.
Of all motives, jealousy is the strongest.
Yes, but I never suspected that Arthur could be that violent. I was just going into town, Mr. Chan. Can I give you a lift?
No, thank you. Even though subway is like ancient Chinese puzzle, would like to try once more. Good day.
Good day.
All right, boys. Go and get it.
Oh, your playing of old hymn was most inspiring.
Thank you. Though I doubt if those poor fellows find it so. Singing for their supper. Excuse me.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chan. Inspector Marlowe phoned. Donald's a lucky man to have you on his side.
On side of justice.
Mr. Chan, I've been in this sort of work for nearly 30 years. Donald isn't a killer.
Your faith is most impressive, however, facts indicate otherwise. Tell me, did you know Dr. Beach?
I never met him personally. Someone gave him our name, and he phoned up and asked us if we had a man for the job.
Did Donald come often to see you here?
Yes, every time he comes to town, he comes to stay with us.
Did he ever leave any personal belongings?
Well, the police have searched the place with a fine-tooth comb.
Did they find anything?
Yes. The murder weapon.
You went all out, Charlie. Nobody could have done more. And we can't be right all the time.
But I'm still puzzled by the fact that lady who admits deep affection for a young man deliberately puts noose around neck by admitting relationship.
We had sufficient evidence without hers. The wound indents matched the murder weapon found at the mission. The blood on the clothing found was Group O and checked with the autopsy report.
Inspector, please refresh aging memory. Where did you say suspect was arrested?
Near Hampstead, Chalk Farm Underground Station.
And murder weapon was found at Mission on east end of town. It is most strange. Murder committed on remote heath in Hampstead. Then killer takes long journey to Mission to plant weapon. Then returns for convenience of police near scene of crime. I have taken same journey today on subway system. I was lost 3 times making connections.
That's all been gone into. He could have taken a cab.
Nothing mentioned of same in record.
Maybe he took a bus.
Or maybe magic carpet. Credulity, unlike elastic, cannot stretch.
Well, it may seem improbable to you, but anything's possible.
Including framing of young man now accused of murder.
It's a bit flimsy, but you're right. It could be a frame.
Then for sake of old friendship, I sincerely beg of you to endeavor to get stay of execution so humble self might complete investigation.
If it was me, you could have it, but I know them upstairs. They've got a killer wrapped in evidence beyond doubt, and they'll hold on to him.
Proof of innocence of young man is worthless unless he is around to enjoy same.
It's no good kicking a wall, Charlie. We haven't got a chance.
We?
Well, I'm in your corner.
Most grateful. Perhaps key to problem is locked in prison. Is possible to visit Donald?
Get me Pentonville Prison.
Why don't you get out? Get out. Leave me alone.
To prove innocence with cooperation is difficult. Without it, impossible.
What's it to you?
Sometimes it takes more courage to face realities of life than to die. If this is your wish, there's nothing I can do.
Do you think I want to die? Watching the day getting nearer when I've got to be killed like a mad dog. Watched by the guards night and day in case I try to cheat the gallows. Every time I heard the gates open this morning, my insides turned to water. Afraid that I'd lose my nerve and have to be carried out of that door. And knowing that outside, the real murderer's waiting for the newspapers that'll tell him he's committed the perfect crime. Have I got a chance?
Even smallest drop of rain gives hope to parched flower.
What do you want to know?
I have few important questions. Must have immediate answers. Did you ever have argument with Doctor?
Why should I? He was a swell guy.
What was relationship between Doctor and wife?
Well, kind of ordinary, I guess. They'd been married long enough to get used to each other. They had their fights, though.
Fights about what?
The usual thing. Money. Mrs. Beach was a pretty extravagant woman.
How did Mrs. Beach treat you?
Okay, I didn't see a lot of her. My work was with the dog.
You just mentioned Doctor as employer was swell fellow. Why did you make love to Doctor's wife?
It's a lie. That's what they tried to pin on me at the trial.
Evidently, they succeeded.
I don't know why she said it, why she kept on saying it. She's old enough to be my mother. Well, almost.
Very good answer. I understand. Now, I must have complete record of all movements with Doctor on last day.
Well, it was a routine day at the office. In the afternoon, I took him out on a couple of calls. And then we went to a photographer's.
Address?
Glasshouse Street, by the Regent Palace Hotel.
Then what?
We had a cup of coffee at Lyons Corner House. And then I took him down to the passport office off Victoria Street. He went in, I parked the car and waited.
What time?
Around 4 o'clock.
And after that?
We went back to the house, had supper, and then I took the doc out to Hampstead.
And now about money.
Well, he dropped me at Chalk Farm and gave me the money to look after until he got back home.
Did the doctor ever do this before?
Oh, once or twice. He was scared of carrying a lot of cash around with him. And then I went into 1 or 2 bars and had a couple of drinks.
Couple?
No, you're right. I got loaded.
In examining your Army record, I find that you were a laboratory technician.
Uh-huh.
Are you familiar with blood grouping?
Well, I used to be a medical student.
Did you know doctor's type of blood?
They insisted at the trial that it was O group, but I know it was AB group.
How did you know?
Because I typed it less than a month before when he was making experiments.
Did you tell this in court?
Yes, but the police said they couldn't find the records.
I see. Visit very satisfactory, however, time is short. You must keep up courage.
Mr. Chan, why are you doing all this?
For love of justice.
Well,
Who identified body of deceased doctor?
the widow.
Did it ever occur to you, Inspector, that buried corpse might be an imposter?
But Marilyn Beach was definite, positive.
Tears of extreme sorrow often cloud vision.
I think we can help you, Mr. Chan. As we did the police. It happens that on the day in question, only one passport was issued, half an hour either side of 4 o'clock. Mr. Carl Bonner, 34 Medway.
Do you perhaps have duplicate photograph of this man?
Oh, yes, we had, naturally, but we gave it up to the police.
You remember what he looked like?
Oh, only vaguely. He was a nondescript sort of chap.
With a beard?
Oh, no, clean-shaven.
Wavy hair?
No, going bald.
Carl Bonner, you say?
Yes.
Much obliged.
The maiden name of the doctor's widow? Bonner. Madeline Bonner. Why?
Just curious. Tell me, who's Carl Bonner?
He's our half-brother. He went to Spain on a holiday the day of the murder, but before it happened.
His present whereabouts?
Well, we can't get in contact with him. His sister doesn't know his address, but says he often takes a long holiday this time of the year.
Most interesting. Also, very convenient. Problem now seems less difficult.
Come clean, Charlie. I hate working blind.
Oh, but still much confusion. I have as many suspects in my mind as bats in a church tower. Humbly request colleagues' patience until I crystallize solution.
Okay, Charlie, but you're holding the ball, but mind you don't drop it.
Shall try to hold ball. Tell me, do you have duplicate passport photograph of Carl Bonner?
As a matter of fact, I have. But how did you know?
Well, I know police would not neglect such ordinary routine.
Here he is. But remember, he's a man of the highest integrity and reputation.
Reputation, like life itself, sometimes comes to abrupt termination.
Are you really onto something, Charlie?
Humbly recommend patience. Ancient wisdom says only superior man can watch chess game without kibitzing.
You mean my husband's alive?
Not only have strong reason Doctor is still alive, but also that he killed your half-brother Carl.
But that's impossible.
Jealousy destroys all reason. A body was needed in order to plant false murder charge against younger rival, who would then be eliminated by process of law.
Mr. Chan, I identified my husband's body at the mortuary.
Shock sometimes obscures vision at such moments.
Have you any proof of this?
Proof lies in cemetery and coffin of late doctor or late half-brother.
Well, what do the police think?
Since my theory is still conjecture, I have not informed them.
My husband is buried in the family vault in Highgate Cemetery. Are you sure you haven't made a mistake?
My suspicions will not be made public unless further proof is obtainable.
That's most helpful of you, Mr. Chan.
From passport photographs, I am most familiar with face of Carl Bonner. I would appreciate opportunity of comparing same with murder victim.
I'd better call the cemetery and make arrangements for you to get into the mausoleum.
Thank you.
Mr. Wood, please. Oh, Mr. Wood, this is Marilyn Beach. I've just given Mr. Charles Chan, he's a detective, permission to inspect my husband's crypt. I thought perhaps I'd better let you know so you can leave the gates open. You needn't wait. Thank you. Thank you very much. Everything's been arranged, Mr. Chan. The vault's at Plot A, row 2, just inside the gates. My husband's coffin is the first on the left as you enter.
Most grateful. Good day, Mrs. Beach.
Good day.
Yes, Highgate Cemetery. I will meet you there, Inspector.
Just a moment, Mr. Wood.
Not Mr. Wood, Inspector. This is Dr. Beach.
But Beach is dead.
No, very much alive. You see Dr. Beach now as clean-shaven, bald organist. As Dr. Beach, he wore a beard. Also, being very sensitive about bald head and profession, he wore a wig. I drew mustache and hairline on passport picture.
Well, if he's Beach, who's the murder victim?
Carl Bonner, her half-brother whom she hated.
What was the motive?
Heavy insurance. Disguised as humble organist, he was hiding out in Mission, waiting until wife could collect on policy.
And he planted the murder weapon there. All right, take them away.
He almost committed another murder, Inspector, but I had other ideas.
I must say, Charlie, you're a marvel.
Appreciate compliment from old friend. However, we must immediately make phone calls to prevent another murder.
Another murder?
Execution of innocent man.
Good. Good. Relax, Charlie. The Queen's pardon's ready for signing. They ought to give you a copy to frame.
Have much better idea.
Ah, a nice hot cup of tea. Charlie, we'll make an Englishman of you yet.
Perhaps, but still very fond of China tea.